Greetings, my name is JC,
And I'm Ian.
and welcome to the Gaiden Show, Episode 2. This is our new format from the podcast, which we're going to be interlacing in between podcast episodes. Let's jump into some new trending topics. And the first thing on the agenda is a new trailer that kind of came out semi recently, and that's the new like a Valhalla Assassin's Creed game. Ian, you're more excited about this than me. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's tough to say. There's been rumors that it would be some kind of Viking related Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Pretty much since Odyssey came out, that the
Hmm.
next one would be more Viking related. And I don't know. I mean, I know it was something that we had discussed that the actual time period does look kind of interesting. It sort of lines up a little bit more with, I guess, some more contemporary media that's available right now.
Yeah,
Because it's got,
especially with like The Last Kingdom and the Viking
yeah,
show and some other like Netflix series and stuff like that. This time period seems to be pretty popular right now.
yeah, and uh, it's tough to say with Assassin's Creed. I mean, Odyssey had a lot of fans, and there was a lot of things that were really good about Odyssey,
Hmm.
but I know personally for me, I don't think the series has hit quite a high note since Black Flag. And
Yeah.
there's been a
It
lot of releases since then.
it seems like they're just kind of throwing out a bunch of different historic themes, which is fun. But like to me, I think I would be more interested in this if it was actually like just an action adventure game that took place with a character that has nothing to do with the like Assassin's Creed timeline or like technology and everything that just might be more intriguing to me. It still looks really cool. I don't know, the models and everything look pretty badass, and
Yeah,
it looks like something that would be fun to play through, especially for fans of the series or I guess people who like action games.
I mean, it does. It looks cool. I like a lot of things that I've seen in the trailer. And there's some things that I've heard from listening to some like Ubisoft employees that have worked on it.
Hmm.
Um, that there are you're building up your settlement. That there's going to be a mixture of both, like raids to gain supplies and equipment.
That's a pretty
And then there's
cool feature because, like,
yeah.
that was a big thing with the Scandinavian people is that that's what they did was continually just like some of it's kind of Hollywoodized a little bit, like some of the rating and stuff. But yeah, they came in and conquered some vast sections of land, and between like Wessex and Mercia and the Wales and Scotland, it definitely some good battles and stuff like that fought there.
And I mean, I'm interested to see I guess the village building mechanics, kind of how that works.
That'll be interesting to
Um,
see for sure. Because that's something
yeah,
new to the series too, right? Because they've done ships and they've done time periods and action and some stealth and stuff like that. And
yes and no. I mean, they've always been adding in new features as they go along and kind of testing out new features along the way as well.
mhm.
And using their other games to kind of test the waters too, because there's a lot of crossover between like added features and stuff across all of the Ubisoft stuff.
Right.
So, the base building thing isn't necessarily new, but
Hmm.
I'm still interested to see kind of what they do with it. I do like that you have an option whether you go like a male or female lead.
Okay.
I know that's something that they brought in with Odyssey,
Oh, okay.
and I kind of like that. It does it it does pay attention to the fact that there are a lot of female gamers out there, and not everybody wants to play a male lead.
Sure, and also there were like some female Vikings. It's not like some things where like there were more traditional roles and stuff like that. Maybe the majority, but like it's not unheard of that there were women
Oh,
warriors
exactly.
from.
Like there was really not a whole lot of difference between the two in that society, from my understanding. So yeah, it's really interesting, and they added in a lot of the um like folklore and history for pretty much all of the other ones
Mhm.
that all of the other time periods that you've played through.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what they how they handle the Norse mythology,
Yeah,
you
it'll
know.
definitely be interesting once we see like more gameplay footage and it comes further along and it's closer to the date. It's apparently coming out this holiday season, so hopefully that doesn't get delayed. And it'll be a good game to at least think about for the holiday season as a game
Oh,
to pick
definitely.
up for
And I
sure.
mean this is for sure going to be one of the big holiday releases this year.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
So,
sure they're Ubisoft. They're infamous for hitting release dates whether they should be or not. So I'm sure it will come
exactly.
out on holiday.
It'll be out on time, and if it's bad, they'll patch it later.
Yeah, unfortunately. But anyway, let's move on to a couple of other topics. There's been some continuing news over the last maybe 6 months, even of the new consoles that are coming up since we're coming on the horizon of a new generation. And on the show, we've kind of avoided. Covering some of this, but since we're at a point where we have more information about it and some game releases and stuff like that, we figured that we would talk about both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X consoles that are coming out. Also, apparently, in the holiday season for this year as well. Although, due to current global events, potentially, this is, I guess, speculation based off a rumor. Some of those consoles might have limited quantities available. We'll see if they'll be able to ramp up during the summer for some production and stuff like that. But I'm super excited for this next generation. I think it's about time. I know we had an extended console life with the 360 PS3 era, especially with the 2008 events, and them wanting to extend the lifespan of the consoles due to that, and just there
Well, and
being
two,
more bleed over as well.
that was really the first generation where we had almost like a console like refresh, where you got a new console mid-generation that had slightly upgraded features
Yeah, more
while
so than
still
just
being
like a different
similar.
case or something like that. It actually
Yeah,
had more RAM in it or something like that. Um,
yeah,
because
because
of the
we
the
did
updated
have a
Xboxes.
different version of the PlayStation 2. We had like a slim version, and I think
Sure,
we
but
got a
those are
mini
just
version of the
hardware
PS1.
versions that were basically newer chips that did the same thing, and not like the
Yes.
PlayStation 4 Pro or like the Scorpio and X and Z or
The
whatever it is.
X
I don't know, the
the
720p.
Xbox One X.
Yeah,
One X.
right, sure. But yeah,
But this has really been the generation that leaned into that, you know.
mhm,
Yes, we had last gen, we did have a refresh with some updates to the system and the hardware,
yeah,
but this generation very quickly out of the gate, both companies hit us with slim versions essentially of their systems.
hmm and
And within a couple of years, we had the Pro and the One X,
mhm.
which had, they do have considerable more capability than the base console.
Yeah, and it's interesting to point out because there have been rumors that there's going to potentially be, at least early in the cycle, if not, again, rumor, if not on launch, like a PlayStation 5 Pro. And
Yeah.
that might be available much sooner than what the PS4 Pro was available, because that was like almost 2 years or something after the launch about there. And personally, like I don't mind if they come out with more powerful versions. It's kind of like having a PC and being a PC gamer, where if you have a better video card, you can put a game on high settings versus medium settings, and that's kind of what the
Yeah.
Pro does for in the Series X do. And if I have the availability to get a PS4 Pro at launch, I'll likely be gunning for that one. Or sorry, PS5 Pro at launch, I'll likely be gunning for that one.
Oh,
Uh,
same.
and I'm also excited for they've also stated that they're refreshing and updating the PlayStation VR headset, and they've filed a patent for these like gloves that will work with VR, which seem very similar to some of the technologies we're seeing on the PC. So that's really cool.
That is
Uh,
super cool. Plus,
so
I think the headset's supposed to be wireless this time around.
Oh, okay. If it is, that would be great too. I
I
didn't
don't.
find the wire in the Model 2 for the PlayStation VR to be that cumbersome because they moved it and they made it lighter because there wasn't like a this little brick thing on it. But no wires is always good. As long as I have the capability of using it with a wire plugged in, then I don't really care because um, if I have a session for 7 hours, the headset's going to die. The
Oh
technology is
yeah,
not
for
there
sure.
for the batteries to last for 24 hours. And if it is there, then it's going to be super heavy. And I don't want it to be heavy. And also, I don't want to have to wait for it to charge if I want to play it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. But they released what the new controller is going to be like. Uh, really like the update for that for the PlayStation 5. They've released what the console looks like and the controller for the Series X. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a pretty big fan of what the Series X console looks like. It's like a skyscraper, kind of.
It's very sleek.
Yeah, it's
Very, very
super
sleek.
sleek. It kind of reminds me of a like a micro tower for a PC,
Yep.
just being a little bit more elongated height wise, and yeah, it seems pretty freaking cool.
Oh, it's gonna. And what's great is it looks like it's gonna move air through it pretty well.
Yeah, that's the biggest
And
thing too, right? Because
yeah,
like the prototype for the PlayStation 4, which was Gargantuan V, it was large people are saying that was large because it needed like massive fans and stuff, and as the technology uses more and more and better video cards and CPUs and stuff like that, they need huge heat sinks or like liquid cooling or good amounts of airflow and stuff like that. And like
yeah.
any
A lot
person
of the
who's purchased a really great video card for their PC, like a $200 one or even a $500 one, the size difference and the size of the fans and the heat sinks, like you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, a high-end video card is massive. You
Yeah.
know, it's a lot. So, yeah, these things are going to generate a ton of heat, and they need a ton of both space and airflow to
hmm
keep them cool.
Is there any games
So
that you're looking forward to that are coming out in the next generation, Ian? Do you want to
it
pick?
it's it's tough to say because the only exclusive so far I think that we know
hmm
for sure on the PS5 is Godfall, which I mean it looks interesting enough.
Right.
Kind of a Diablo-y but shooter sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know. There hasn't been too much, but I'm intrigued enough as far as the one or the Series X, I should say.
hmm
Hellblade 2, but
Okay.
I thought I thought Hellblade 1 didn't really need a sequel.
Right.
So I don't know. Their their launch lineups probably not going to blow me away. Plus, there's still a lot of time. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
find out about a lot of games
hmm
over the course of the summer.
I'm kind of in
Um,
the same boat. I'm hoping to pick up one early just so that I can get because I know the same thing's going to happen from the four to this generation to the next generation as the previous one to this generation, where like for example, The Last of Us will be released late in the console life, and then it'll probably be refreshed and updated to be like working on the next PlayStation, right?
but I
And
mean, on the bonus side to that, at the moment, so far, apparently almost all PS4 games are going to be backwards compatible,
yeah, I
as
hope that
well
happens.
as
Like
well as
they kind of
all
said
Xbox
there's going to be
Ones.
reverse compatibility in the last consoles too, but they either dropped it or it never really happened, or it did happen
Well,
in a software only version.
the nice thing with the Series X is that actually all Xbox One games, as well as their select title of 360
Yeah.
and original Xbox games, are all going to be backwards compatible on this.
hmm
That's at least one thing that I think Microsoft is doing very, very right.
Yeah, they've really gotten that done. Like they've taken community feedback and like their consumer feedback and just really done that effectively and in my opinion as well the right way to do it. It's amazing how like many games, like almost every single game it works for. So you
It
just
does, and you
download
know
your
what?
patch and
I
you're good to go.
I think on paper, the Series X is much more powerful than the PS5. But it's going to come down to the same as this generation: is do they have the exclusives?
Yeah,
And
I would disagree with that comment. Every developer studio is going back and forth between them, and nobody really has a consensus because some of the consoles technologies do things that the other consoles don't. Like some of the dynamic lighting and stuff like that, working with HDR and stuff. I think they work differently because they're using different technologies. So it's really up
that's
to the
true.
programmers. And yeah,
Plus, recently we did get that the like tech demo video of the new Unreal Engine
hmm
that was running on the PS5,
yeah,
and like that was mind blowing.
it was. It was really mind blowing. Yeah.
So I mean, if that's the content that we have to look forward to,
hmm
I'm
But always,
I'm pretty excited.
yeah, and always keep this into consideration too, is what you're seeing is the early days. Like if you look at the PlayStation 1, for example, the games that came out in the first couple of years do not look like the games that came out in 99 2000. Like
Oh,
they're
exactly. I mean, if
drastically different. They learn new ways to do things and
I
tricks
mean
of the
Metal
trade and
Gear
stuff like that. And
like Metal Gear Solid did stuff with that system that
yeah,
people didn't know you could do with that system.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it was like right at the end of its lifespan,
yeah.
but still, like it.
I've always stated like that T-Rex demo is as great as it looked at the time. They managed to do better things with that console. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like it's so it is exciting. And again, I mean, you look at the early PS4 games and
hmm
the uh the current ones that like lineup that we have out is just
Yeah.
leaps and bounds ahead of it. So
hmm
what we'll see, 5 or 6 years down the road,
Yeah.
like we can't even comprehend right now.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we kind of wanted to bring up and talk about was like since the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are coming out holiday season of this year, like the Switch has been out for 3 years, the Lite about a year. What's your thoughts on potentially them updating the console and releasing like a pro version of the Switch? Like I don't know
I,
exactly what that would be, but like hopefully if it does happen, I would imagine like the cartridges would be reverse compatible. So let's assume that they are for purposes of this discussion. But
I mean, honestly, JC, I still don't think so. I
okay,
really, I don't see like a pro version. That's not Nintendo's thing.
hmm
I don't doubt that we'll see several more, um,
like refreshes.
yeah,
There's
or
already
different
been one.
versions.
The red box of the Switch actually has different battery inside of it, and I think the Joy-Con joysticks, they updated those a little bit as well in the red box, and it's like
The
an
drift,
updated.
the drift has not been fixed.
I mean, the drift still
It's
happens, but I'm pretty
the
sure
drift is still
that
there,
from what
but
I've
the battery
heard,
for sure.
yeah,
Because a friend of mine actually has one of the newer Switches,
right,
and he does get about an hour to 2 hours more gameplay than I do.
fair
So
enough.
that's kind of nice. It's nice that they're still willing to update the hardware,
Sure, but
but
you don't
that's
think that they'll
that's something
release
that's
like a
going to
pro
come with
version?
time. I don't think we're going to get a pro version because that's not what Nintendo does. If you look at the DS,
hmm
which
See, that's why I
really
disagree. Because there's a DS Lite, there's a DS Lite I or whatever. Like
there was a DS, there was a DSi, there was a DS Lite,
and then the XL,
and then the DSi XL,
right?
but none of those had
Yeah, the XL has more RAM, and
oh, does it have more
it
RAM?
does, yeah. it has more RAM, and the screen resolution changed between like three of those models, right? So they're
Well, there you
kind of
go.
revisions, right? So that's why I
They're
think they
small
might,
revisions,
and
but they're not like it's
they're
they're
not
not
big steps
they're not
by any
yeah,
means. It's not a new
they're not
console.
changes in like the same kind of degree as like a PS4 and a PS4 Pro.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think we will. Like, I still think we'll see several revisions to the system,
Hmm.
and I think we will see similar things. We'll probably get a Switch XL, which I don't know who's asking for that.
It's like a
I think the
tablet.
yeah,
It's
I
like
think the
this
Switch
big, and
as it is it's perfect, kind of how it is.
yeah, I think it's a good. I think it's the right size.
I mean, you could have a slightly better controller grip, but they did release. There was one for that came out with Daemon X Machina
Mm,
that was a little bit more of a controller feel
fair
for
enough.
the grip. So I mean, there are
It's just a
peripherals
pro
out there.
controller anyway. I mean, that's what
Basically,
most
it
people
really
do.
is. It's a split pro controller to
Yeah.
put on your system. So,
Yeah.
and if you're playing it in docked mode, then the pro controllers.
Yeah. So personally, I don't think they will, but I think they should. And the reason why I say that is because it's 3 years into the life cycle. The light, like, unless you're a super fan, you didn't buy the light if you already had the normal Switch. You're not buying those small refreshes because there really wasn't a point to it.
Well, I think that's why we see a huge stockpile of the light
Yeah,
because a lot of
or
people
at
didn't
least
see
in
the
this
point to
area.
it.
But the reason why I think they should is because unless they continue to hammer out good enough exclusives to warrant sales, they're gonna have to do something, or it's gonna get forgotten like the Wii U. And I
I
know
don't.
how well that it, not in the same reflex of just didn't sell, but just like eventually the sales like dramatically dropped, and I think
The
that might
Wii U never
happen.
had the install base that the Switch has.
But it's still, what I'm saying is it still had an install base, and then it completely dropped after a certain point because newer consoles were coming out, right? And I think
Right,
the
but
same thing might happen at a larger scale with the Switch, where its install base will drop and then they won't sell consoles because that's how they kind of market their success a lot, right? They don't really advertise on the Nasdaq all the time of like, oh, we sold this many copies of a game. It's no, we're selling this many consoles. Or so that's the thing they push the most, in my opinion.
I I think Nintendo has a very different business model than its competitors. I don't even think it sees them as competitors. You know,
Maybe, yeah.
the the
Only a few
PlayStation
people
and
know
the
that for sure.
Xbox. Well, yeah, that's true. But the PlayStation and the Xbox offer a very different experience than the Switch.
Right. But the thing is
And
that like the community cried about not having games on the Switch that were available on other platforms, and that was one of the reasons why they didn't like the previous iterations, right? So The Witcher is a great example of this. And it's like, okay, we'll make The Witcher on the Switch, and sure, it's missing some bells and whistles, it doesn't matter, but it still happened. But as the gap gets further apart, that's going to be harder and harder to do without like drastic differences, right? And that's one of the reasons why I think that they should as well, because if they don't, then let's just say Cyberpunk or the new Bloodlines game, like it's going to be harder and harder for them to make it passable as like, I'm going to buy this on a Switch. Like, no, you're not. You're just going to buy it on anything else because it looks that much worse, right?
well, and that's the thing. I'm not going to go out and buy Cyberpunk or Bloodlines on the Switch.
You're not, but some
I'm not
people
going to ask
are,
for them on that system because
right?
I know that that's not what my Switch is for.
I understand, but there's those people out there who only have one console, right? And that's the kind of community that I'm kind of like thinking about whenever I'm stating that. But
Like that's a fair point.
mhm,
I'm not gonna disagree with you that yes, there are a lot of people that have one console and they're gonna want to be able to play the big budget releases on
yeah,
there. But I the Nintendo consoles have never been that for me. I've never seen any of the Nintendo consoles as a place where I'm buying my AAA titles. I'm still getting AAA titles on a Nintendo console. I'm just getting a Nintendo AAA title, not a, you know, Sony or
yeah, no,
well, not
and that
Microsoft.
makes
'Cause
sense,
Microsoft doesn't
but
really make
that
games
makes
that
sense
way.
because you have multiple consoles, right? So
It does.
and people complained in general that like EA games disappeared from the platform because they only had one console. They prefer Nintendo games, but they like their sports games, right? So
Yeah.
I think it'll cause problems. That's basically the reason why I think they should. But I don't think they will. Honestly, like it'll be, let's say, 2 or 3 more years, and then we'll be hearing about another Nintendo console, because if you look at the average length of a console life, it's like 4 to 7 years. So we're starting to get there in the middle in 2 to 3 years time. So, but
It'll
anyway,
be the it'll be the Switch XL,
yeah,
twice
maybe,
as big.
maybe. So yeah, that's our thoughts about Switch Pro. Ian, you have a little bit of a rant to go on to. We had an interesting talk the other day about steelbooks, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I have a tiny bit of a gripe. So I wasn't with everything that's been going on lately. I didn't pre-order a copy of. Well, I don't pre-order. That's plain and simple. I go down to my local gaming store and I just pick up the game there on day one.
fair enough.
I've never had any issues doing so. I've never had any issues getting, in like deluxe editions or whatever
Hmm.
by going there, because they don't do a lot of pre-orders. I mean, I'm sure they do, but it's not a major chain, so they're used to catering to their clientele
Right.
and support your local game stores. But yeah, so I held off, and then I was gonna order one, and they were initially, I think they sold out, like, of all editions. And I was like, man, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to get it. Well, maybe I'll get it digitally. And then I got an email from the Square store
Hmm.
that they had a restock on the deluxe edition of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
Fine.
I'll get
I'll
it.
give you more money.
And like, what's awesome is like it came with this really cool steelbook. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you can see that there,
No, you can.
but it like it's great looking. It's awesome. But you know what else it came with? It came with a plastic case that the game is actually in. The standard plastic case that the game would be in.
So here's the question: was the metal case individually wrapped? Is that
It
how?
neither of them were actually wrapped,
Oh,
because if
okay.
you take a little look there in the bottom corner, it
Oh, it's
actually
got
says
the
not
not
for
for resale.
resale, because it is slightly different. It has
Hmm.
whatever DLC
Yeah, there's
comes
no
in it.
SKU to put it into the EV game system. Anyway.
Exactly. Which, whatever, they'll work around it, they don't care. But I was super frustrated that you would package in a plastic case with a steelbook. I mean, it's in a really nice box. It has art book and a mini soundtrack. I mean, there would have been space for something else,
Right.
or they could have made the
Like
box
the
smaller.
collection itself is cool. It's just like, why send you another case?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
what
I
frustrates me the
guess.
most
Yeah.
is that, like, I have Dissidia
Hmm.
in a steelbook. That's still wrapped. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a
And
steelbook
it didn't
with a
come with
slip.
a plastic case. And I guess just for context, the argument is that like it would have cost them extra time to take it from the already packaged like cases and move them to the steelbooks, or that's like an extra step in the process. But it's like,
But
as Ian
the
is
fact,
showing you, they've already done that with other games. Like
and like
shouldn't be that big of a
it's
deal to them.
but it says it's a different case.
Right.
Like, it is, because like it's a different like it's a different art sleeve that's in there,
Yeah.
because it says not for resale. But
Hmm.
that's still different than the standard packaging. So it's
Oh,
not
for
like they
sure.
just took one of the standard ones and
Yeah.
slid that in.
It kind of
It's just a
harkens back
different
to
plastic
the
case.
it kind of harkens back to the days of Best Buy, where they had the steelbook exclusives, and like they just have like a stack of individual steelbook cases, and if you bought the game on day one, they would hand you the steelbook, right? And it's
Yeah,
like, what? Like I think I have
I
two of those, like, and it's just
yeah,
like
I
I've
think
never
I
used
have
the
a steelbook
steelbook
for.
because of that, because it's just like, okay, I'll put that in my storage box for that console of games, and then
But what, like, yeah, I think I have one for one of the Assassin's Creed, and I got one for Prey.
right.
Like, but why? Why do I need this? This
Wasted
is
plastic.
yes, it is, and it's wasted space,
Hmm.
because it's
Especially
not like.
for like if you want to put all your games on a shelf, and you've got like two, like a plastic and then the steelbook, it's like, well, and for yourself, now you're gonna have the like you bought an actual copy potentially, and then you bought this, and
It's
you have two plastic cases, and then the steelbook is like, why do you buy three copies of this? Well, actually, it's two.
well, not like I will say that at least it fits all nicely in the box, but the box would have been a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't need to be like
Yeah.
this much wider.
Yeah.
It's just there's no point to it. It irritates me to no level. Like
Yeah.
I could understand if it was their first time doing anything in a steelbook, but the fact that they've had two releases recently, because Dissidia NT came out
Not
within the
that long
last 2
ago.
years.
Yeah.
Same with the Zodiac Age.
Mm-hmm.
Like these
Yeah.
aren't new things. This isn't something out of the ordinary. They could have just packaged it in the steelbook and put it in there because they have the steelbook as a
It's
selling feature.
supposed to be a premium product. Take that extra time to just put it in the damn steelbook. Like it's not rocket science.
Yeah,
But
and like I
like,
think it was like $30 more than the standard. I think it was 79 and 109.
yeah, something like that.
I mean, I guess I paid for the extra plastic,
I guess.
but
I
I
mean, that 10 cents of plastic and like 5 cents of paper maybe with ink.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It just it frustrated me enough that I wanted to vent about it, and it's just
But definitely,
it's
steelbooks are cool and keep on making them. Just, I mean, like, don't send an extra case. It's stupid. I agree.
no, we never need two cases for anything.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on.
Indeed.
Um, we've been playing a couple games. Actually, we've been playing the same games, kinda.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about what you were playing, JC?
So I'm a fairly big fan of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, and it never got around to playing Grand Theft Auto 5. So I picked up the premium edition for the PS4 and played through the story mode of Grand Theft Auto 5 for the first time, like just late last month, and had a really good time with it. I super enjoyed there's always the updates of the graphics and sorry them progressing on how well they're good at telling stories. It's gotten better and better over the years. The iteration of the three characters was really cool. I didn't necessarily like all the characters as much, but they were all, I guess, enjoyable in their own rights. And
Well, they're all characters. Like
yeah,
they're
exactly. And they all have a purpose, right? It's not just kind of like filler and stuff like that. So, yeah, I sat down and I played the game. I think, what was it, like 50 hours worth of gameplay from Friday to Tuesday or something like that, and
you put in a
finished it
lot of time.
really quickly. But yeah, it was a blast. Like the missions were really fun. Yeah, like obviously this is an older game, and it's like most people played it, but I don't know why. For some reason, I just didn't play it the like year that it came out, and it just kind of sat there as a game that, like, what these types of games, like, I'll buy it whenever I want to play it, and I was just in the mood to play another Grand Theft Auto, and I was like, well, like, it's been years since I've played like 4, and let's just play 5 and had a really great time with it. I loved a lot of the missions. They were very cinematic, and the antics and stuff like that between the characters was really fun, and just yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. So I recently played that, and I some people tried to convince me to play the online mode, but to be honest with you, Ian being one of them and my cousin being another, because he actually plays Grand Theft Auto Online a lot. Like anytime I'm on the PlayStation, he's either playing like that, Fortnite, or some zombie game, like Call of Duty Zombies or something. And I was just like, I was already on to the next game after that, but yeah, it was really great. I'm looking for. I've heard some rumors that they're potentially working on a Grand Theft Auto 6 now. This is complete speculation, but if this is true, I really hope, and I've wanted this since like 2000. Please, please remake London. make the next one. I don't care if it's modern or if it's like the 1970s or whatever, but uh, Grand Theft Auto London is one of my favorite games, and I just like that kind of like mobster, like British mobster movies and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of great movies since then that they could like, they obviously pull references from a lot of like existing content and stuff like that. And if I were to give my like wish board of what I would want for the next game, it would definitely be that game. I would buy like the month it comes out and play through it right away. Because they've
Well, that's
redone.
really the one.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's the one's like game that they really have never touched back on.
Yeah, because the original game, if you're not aware, and I'm talking like the original PlayStation game, the 2D one, it was 3 cities, and they've redone those cities now, and they've
Yep.
redone like in different time frames. So all those have been done. So like unless they just make a new city and make it based in one of the like a one of the major cities around the world or something like that, like maybe Shanghai or Tokyo or something, then sure. But like I like that's what the Yakuza games are for. So like
Exactly.
let's make it in London, guys, or Germany or something, like something different and cool. Because like what Miami was done, like Los Angeles is
Because
done,
that
New
was
York,
Vice
and
City,
yeah.
and then you had San Andreas,
Hmm.
as well as Liberty City.
Yep.
I mean, they've been back. They've been back to all of these places. They've been to San Andreas twice,
Yeah, exactly. And they were great
and
games.
Liberty City twice, for that matter.
Yeah, and
You know,
don't get us wrong, like they were great games, but like let's instead of just giving us a refresh of something that exists, give us something like new of something that exists. Like and yeah, I think it would be really fun. But anyway, it was a great time. I plowed through it really quickly. And looking forward to the next one.
I mean, you paid for the premium. The premium basically includes online stuff. I'm gonna drag you into the online at some point
I've already played
because
like 4 other games since then, but yeah.
because when you said I started playing GTA, I was like, cool, I'm gonna install it and get into the multiplayer and try to drag JC into the multiplayer.
Yeah, it was funny because I told you that on Friday, and then we had a conversation on Saturday night, and then I think you installed it on Sunday, and I was already like 2/3 of the way through the game, right?
Yeah,
And
you were almost done.
It was yeah.
I was like, cool, he'll finish, and then I can pull him into the multiplayer. No, he finished and was like, boom, straight onto something else.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
he's like, that was like 6 games ago.
yeah.
But that's okay. I think I can drag you in. The multiplayer is a ton of fun. They've
Mhm.
made so many changes to
It
it.
is
They've
still
added in
installed on my console, so I mean it's still there. So I didn't just uninstall it because I do that with some games. I beat it, I uninstall it, and forget about it until the next time I want to play it. So I didn't do that with GTA 5.
I mean, considering I hadn't played GTA 5 since the heists initially came out,
Hmm.
to be able to go back in and see that they've added in
Yeah,
uh, more of the heist style gameplay,
and I
I
think
was just beyond stoked.
yeah, I think that was that and the interactions between the characters. I think was part of my favorite aspects of it. The one thing that I didn't like about the game that much was so I completed everything in the game for context except for the hobbies that each of the characters have. I did some of those things, but I didn't do all the hunting stuff. I didn't do all the submarine finding things. I didn't do the golf. Like I didn't do any of the hobbies. But I completed every other quest there. So I think it was like near 85% of the game completed according to like the little graph chart that you have in the menu.
Oh,
And so like I spent time doing all the missions and stuff, but so like the heists were definitely some of the coolest things in that, and it was just so fun. The thing I disliked the most was the side jobs. I don't know why they put it in there. And I would like to say, as a person who's played Grand Theft Auto since like it came out, the one thing that I would like to say that I dislike about Grand Theft Auto 5 is they being a fan of the series since it came out is Grand Theft Auto 5 really misses the mark on the original charm of the series, and I think they need to bring it back. And what I mean by that is all the quests in this are all linearly done, and some of them are parallel between the 3 different characters. For all intents and purposes, there's no random missions that kind of like no ringing phones that are just there, or if you pick up certain cars that are specific colors and stuff like that, a mission starts, or you randomly get called or something like that. Like there's some of those things, but it's not really as vast of a sandbox I felt as the kind of GTA 3 and stuff like that, where you could go through any time in the game and do these extra things. Those were the hobbies, and they were super boring in comparison to like the ringing phones and stuff like that in like 1, 2, 3, and to an extent it was a little bit in 4. They started getting rid of it there because they were going for more of a narrative story rather than just like mainly sandbox stuff, because like the
Hmm.
older games there was a large amount of sandbox stuff, and like there's vast open areas of 5 that really don't matter. I didn't drive everywhere because I didn't really need to, and I'll be honest with you, I did go on just like ludicrous rampages just for fun and then just sort of like reload my character so I didn't like lose my money and stuff like that. But like like that was more of an entertainment thing in the original ones than it is in this. And I know that's kind of what online is, but it's like if I would have like had some extra things that happen, and yeah, every now and then there's somebody getting their purse stolen, and you can go kill the person, and then return the money, and then kill them, and then get double the amount of money. You can still do that, and that's something from 3. But like there's in the original, there was like random phone call mini quests and stuff like that that you could pick up, and those were in 3 as well, and those are completely missing. Just those actual, what I feel like are actual side quests, because everything felt like a main quest that were part of the 3 linear stories, and you could just flip between the 3 of them and then some hobbies. So basically they spent their time on these hobby things, which to me were just really friggin' boring, instead of these side quests, which could have been like the same like mini heist mission or something, could have been done by any 3 of the characters. If they would have done that, I think the game would have been better. That's not to knock it, it's still a really great game, I still would have
Hmm.
enjoyed it just as much, but that's just some of the charm that was in the original games, where you did and could find these like side things that literally had nothing to do. Especially in 3, they perfected that formula in 3, where like there were these side quests that were maybe 4 chains long that actually felt like a story, but they didn't have anything to do with the main story at all. It was just like the triad wanted you to do this and stuff like that, so you had to deliver something for them, and it had nothing to do with them. It added in those extra things to sort of make the world a little bit more organic, and to me the hobbies didn't cut it for me. I didn't feel like doing random things because this original subsystem was missing, because it was just like, okay, it's a main storyline for me, and I know their objective was, okay, complete the main storyline, get online, and then spend money online. But let's be honest here, I wasn't gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. There's no way I'm spending any money on the online stuff. I want to try some of the heists with you and some friends and stuff like that. But as soon as there's money involved, I already gave them my $30 or $25. Like I'm not going to. I'm done with the game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I completely agree, and I really do think some of the, I guess, the charm that was pulled out of the single player
Hmm.
exists there in the multiplayer.
Yeah.
There's
And
a lot of random missions and things that pop up and random events, and just
yeah,
even like when you're walking around, all of a sudden you get a um an event pops up that's like who can fly the furthest distance closest to the ground while
exactly.
upside down. So
Yeah.
it'll highlight on the map where there's planes.
Hmm.
It'll even spawn special like stunt planes to make it a little bit easier to
Yeah,
achieve that. No, but I think that that's kind of that's sort of the magic that you might have been missing.
it is.
It is these interesting little encounters that you can have. I mean, even something where you run into somebody who's a complete jerk who's trying to grief everybody,
Hmm.
and now you have a whole bunch of strangers who are like, "All right, well, what are we gonna do to get this guy to stop, like, to leave us alone?"
Yeah.
And I mean, there are systems in place you can make yourself non-targetable.
Hmm.
That's an option.
Yeah. And I guess the
Um,
main reason why I wanted to bring this up is because like I know some of this stuff isn't online, but like as it moves forward, I really hope that Rockstar doesn't deviate too much from their single player content, because like their stories is really what put them on the map, and I want them to stay on the map because of that, because that's what they're good at. I understand some of the
Yeah.
same people aren't still there, but if they keep good stories that are only 3 hours long, people are going to get bored of it and go away, and it's just going to be an online experience. And it's
I
never
mean,
been that for decades, and I hope it doesn't go away.
they've already demonstrated that that's just not the case. I mean, you look at something like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is paced at a level that dares you to love it.
So did your Grand Theft Auto 5, though. To be honest with you,
It's
the boring of the Grand Theft Auto 5 intro was the most boring intro that I've ever played from a Rockstar game. I've
oh
never
yeah.
played any of the Red Dead Redemption games. I'll be honest, I'm not a super huge Western fan. That's one of the reasons why I've never played them before.
I mean, if you're not a
Um,
fan of westerns, you're not going to like a game that is
I,
just a
I just
western.
I find them way too spaghetti westerns are way too similar, and I'm very good at, especially like shows that are based off of spaghetti westerns. I'm always like, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. I used to have this problem with my ex all the time, and it's like, how do you know that? No, it's not. Well, guess what? It was. So I get bored of them too easily
It's a
because
little formulaic.
it's way too formulaic for me. But yeah, and anyway, yeah, I found the intro to 5 very boring as well. The controls were different for every single subsystem, which was infuriating, frustrating. It's like, wait, you changed the controls on me again? Like, this didn't happen in the previous games from what I can remember anyway. And it's like, yeah, and it's like, get to the point. Like, if you would have thrown some little sub random missions at me, it would have kept me distracted. And they're like, no, like, drive around for 10 minutes until we phone you. It's like, let's just fast forward time for 10 minutes and you can phone me right now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, great game.
Anyway.
If you haven't played it and you are a fan of Rockstar games or sandbox games, I know I was late on the bandwagon. I'm glad I finally got around to it. I suggest you play it too. It has my recommendation for sure.
And the multiplayer is incredibly enjoyable.
Cool, cool.
But we played something else too, JC.
We
We
did.
and we actually played this one together.
Yep, certainly. And yeah, so we play a lot of League of Legends, as a lot of our friends know, and there was Clash tournaments a couple weeks ago, and we practiced and tried hard. There was game Saturday and game Sunday, and yeah, we didn't do so well on Saturday.
We did not.
We lost our first 2 games and got a bye on the third game, so go us. However,
Still a win. Still a win.
still a win. And however, the Sunday went super well for us. We actually managed to win our first Clash game, and we won that cup. So that was amazing. Really excited about that. Ian's our jungler. I'm a support. And we have some friends that fill in some of the other roles. And yeah, so we got cool new banners to show off in the game. Just swag, basically. Bragging rights, as we are doing right now, I suppose. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to pull it off again. But we got our one, so that's...
We got our one. You know what? I got to say it's a nice feature that they've added in.
Yeah.
It's a layer of competitiveness to the game that you just won't find in either like solo queue or flex.
Mm-hmm.
You're just even flex where you're with a team of 5, you're still not going to have the same kind of competitive experience that you would playing Clash, because you don't you can't
you're
scout
just
the other team.
you're fighting for LP. You're not fighting for like a cup, basically. Because like now
Yeah.
we have an actual cup that's on the corner of the map by the fountain that shows until the next Clash is like finished, basically. So I don't know if we can show our old cups or not. I've only won one of them, so no idea. But yeah, like that's cool because it flares in and people see it and stuff like that. It's like, oh, cool, you won a Clash thing. And I've had so many friends tell me that it's like Clash brought them back to wanting to care about League again, because rank for a lot of people just gets monotonous. They gain elo, they lose elo, they gain elo, they lose elo, and they just don't feel like they're going anywhere. But with this, it's like they're fighting for something. It kind of
Well, and I find
revitalizes their interest.
especially right now with everything that's been going on, the servers have a certain level of bloat
Hmm.
because there's a lot of people playing, and a lot of the people that are playing are maybe high elo players leveling up Smurf accounts because they have the time,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And
Yeah, like I was
I've
even
ran
on
into a lot of
today and it gave me a
experiences.
2-minute queue to actually log onto the system, and it's been a while
Yeah.
since I've seen something like that. So I think it's bringing people back for sure.
Oh, for sure. Like I've seen a lot of people that I have never known to play the game messaging saying, "Hey, do you have any tips for somebody getting back into League?"
Yeah. There's so many new
And it
champions.
yeah, we've played a few games with some friends of mine who haven't
Yeah.
played in like 4 years.
Yeah, we queued in some games and it was really fun because it was like, okay, wait, this guy's new. And like I've been playing for 3 years. I'm like, that guy came out before I started, so there's no
Yeah,
way that guy's new. Like,
like that's not new. It's just new to you.
yeah.
So it is interesting to see people coming back to it.
Hmm.
But I mean, Clash is a great experience.
It
You're not
is.
going to get the same. You won't get the same competitive experience unless you're playing like in actual tournaments somewhere or at like a professional level. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that we're in any degree playing at that level.
No, we're
It's
playing
just
at a professional silver level here, just to be clear. Silver gold. That's our professionalism. Like that, we're scrubs. We're well known of that.
absolutely. But we have fun with it, and
Hmm.
that's at the end of the day, that's what counts. And I think being able to get a competitive experience like that out of this is
Yeah,
it's a really nice thing. It's a nice feature. People take it a little bit more seriously,
yeah,
and it's not a huge time investment too. Like we're done
yeah.
in
It's
a couple
three
hours.
hours maximum. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you could have like 50-minute games. So yeah, like say 3 hour maximum. You have to play 3 games. You can bounce out if you want. I don't know why people do that because if you lose, you still get points, but if you bounce out, you lose them. So
yeah. You
yeah.
you might as well stay in and play the game.
Hmm.
You signed up, right? So
Yep.
just play it. At the most, you're playing 3 games. It's not like you'll
Yeah.
keep on going and going and going and have to stay on for like 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah. It's just an
It's
8-team bracket, single elimination, and you place where you place, right? And we had kept
yep.
on getting, we got fifth a couple times, we got fourth once, and then like seventh a couple of times as well, or once I think, and finally we did it. We uh we managed to get first, which was disheartening before because like the one time where we got fourth for the first time, the people who we lost against on our second game actually ended up winning. So I was like, oh, if it was somebody else, we might have been able to win it. But yeah, get good, I guess, right?
I guess.
GGWP. Yeah.
So that's what we've been playing. What about you guys? Have you gone back to play something you haven't in years, or are you playing something new? Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, for sure. Would love to hear your games that you've been playing as well. And be sure to stay tuned, like and subscribe if you're new around here. And we were trying to release 2 episodes a week, and we'll see you in the next episode.